Yo, what up, guys? We are back with an NU game. This is going to be Eternally versus Zukushiku. Eternally of, I forget which team, and Zukushiku, I believe, is of the Raiders, which I recall if only because he was something of an out-there pick for the teams generally. And, this is actually a pretty interesting game because we see a very recent product of major hype in Zangoose, which you would expect from preview to be the belly drum set. It's gotten a lot of, interest brewing up around it from its ability to break teams via, did I mention this? The belly drum set, Citrus belly drum, which runs quick attack, knock off, close combat traditionally, and it is oftentimes supported via a Pursuiter, which has been most notably recognized as Sneasel, and a Memento via Whimsicott. So that's kind of like the traditional quote-unquote structure for a Zangoose team, and I missed the very first turn, but Eternally, I think, made a really interesting building decision in that he played with expectations off that and uses this Eviolite because it ate that Hydro Vortex, and, obviously, Cecil is too fragile to eat any hits other than, without being backed by Eviolite, and, nabbed a surprise KO on Slowbro, which, being the Z moveset, could have tanked one hit from that Pokemon, and is now put at the disadvantage. So what we might be seeing here is a Pursuing Dread, which, because I think that even with there only being a couple noteworthy ghosts, I think it is important enough to splash the Pursuit support there for things like this Rotom in right here. And Zukushiku, I believe, wins what I would expect to be a tie. I see no reason for Eternally not to throw a shard there, because chunking that for, I would say, like, I don't know, over half. I hesitate to say like full 60, but it does a whole lot because, again, most Sneasel in this tier are currently banded. Again, another reason why playing off those expectations with the SD play out of the gate was really sharp, and I kind of applaud him for that. But yeah, the chip would have been nice, at least as far as putting it in something like a Rotom Volt Switch range, though a lot of the time you are seeing less Scarf Rotom, which I'm so-so on, and more defog sets because that's now an option available to it, and there's a dual SR week. I can definitely see that happening, and while Whimsicott also gets it, there is a much higher chance that it is a Memento set on a team like this. However, considering this is probably locked into Ice Shard, Zukushiku is put into a position where he has to do something around this Pokemon. I would expect a throwing the knockoff into the Rotom is obviously an option, but I don't think that is the play from Eternally, because the chance of it backfiring on Zuku making the, middle ground play is way too high. He'll get kind of chunked up a bunch from going to a Druddigon. I think that the better play here is just to go for close combat, personally. Yeah, and he does make that play. That's good. Goes to the shard, and of course shows that it is that very freaking, belly drum set, because it doesn't show Toxic Orb. And I guess the issue that I failed to, or neglected to mention here, was that by foregoing a ground type, he is really kind of setting himself up for Rotom traps, or I guess Momentum traps is a fair enough way to put it, because as you can see, there's no reason for him not to Volt Switch out of this Zangoose, and I think that's kind of a problem with teams like this. Obviously, this Zangoose can try to pick one up or something, but it can't really get the traction anywhere. So he does go into the Druddigon, choose it for goddamn nothing because Druddigon's a beast. But it just allows another switch to this Pokemon now. Something I have been kind of interested in for a while, because I feel as though Vileplume has recently been on the decline, what with the popularity of much more, potent fire types, such as this Imbor. I mean, Imbor, Delphox, etc., are all like real on the tippy top of the meta right now. I have been feeling Shadow Ball Whimsicott quite a lot recently, but judging from that double, I would expect that he is in fact not that set, and he is just going to be trying to lay up the rocks here. Yeah, and he brings in his own Whimsicott, and unfortunately, Zuko just doesn't have a Fairy Resist at all, so, oh, is this Twinkle Tackle? Dang. Ooh! Ooh! That's real nice, damn. I did not see that coming. Now that takes me back, because the last time I saw a Rosalie Drud utilized, or even Theurymond to effect, was back in, I think, Oros, like, early ass Oros UU, maybe even XY UU with Coco Loco, utilizing it back when Florges was the only fairy, and you could, you could chunk that with the Gunk Shot in the same way with a Sheer Force boosted thing, and still keep hazards up versus like a Fortress via Flamethrower. But I am getting ahead of myself there. That's really an interesting tech. I feel like maybe TDK pushed for that, because that's something that he would definitely tech on these kind of things, and I know that he is someone that probably is involved somewhat in the Raiders NU building process as a low-key fan of the tier. But that's nifty. I really appreciate that, though of course it opens up to the possibility of an in-game from this presumed Scarf Delphox. Just looking at the speed control, and again assuming for the fact that this Rotom is going to be Defog. Maybe Citrus, maybe Spell Tag. It's hard to say for certain. People are really abstinent to run just Leftovers Rotom, which I don't know. It's like, the idea of bluffing anything else kind of feels like it feels like it should go to the wayside at this point, because I have not seen a single freaking Choice Rotom in, I don't know, it just feels like it's never used anymore, which is a shame, because I think that Choice Rotom is still, fantastic, but I digress. That is a Gleam, so maybe this isn't Scarf Delphox, and he's just, I say that because that's almost a non-entity on Scarf variants. You will see Dazzling Gleam on the Calm Mind sets over Psychic Stab as a means to navigate the Guzzlord, more so than anything else. Which is fair. I think that on a team like this, with the Rotom conceding, and of course the Fairy type of choice not taking on Guzzlord well at all, because it can have moderate liberty to throw Fire Blast unless you make that aggressive Druddigon play, which is really hard to pull the trigger on, speaking from experience. So perhaps it is in fact a Scarf Rotom, and he's just kind of accommodating somewhat and playing like Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, Trick, Defog, which is not awful. I mean, the concession of running a choiced Defog or something like that, putting that utility slot in there in such a way, it's real tough. I'm not people are hyping up that play. It's really, like, not much. I don't... Like, realistically, what was he gonna do? Is he gonna freaking Volt Switch into the totally safe import because he showed that he's almost definitely not gonna have Psychic? Oh, also a pretty cool thing that I neglected to mention is that Sneasel playing in that manner that does also kind of allows for that Delphox to drop the Psychic Stab because, well, to an extent, obviously there's a big concession there, but oh, that's cool. Did that get shown? I don't know. That is cool though. I'll touch upon that in a second, but Sneasel being able to sort of chunk into this Embor sets up the Delphox, and I like Assault Vest Embor just because of the role it tends to play. Obviously, you know, it's a very versatile Pokemon between being able to break wall. There's not a whole lot of traditional checks to it. Lots of, you know, there's Slowbro, obviously, and that can usually handle it. But you can always tech to Z Electric rather than Z Fight, which is the more broad one because it has, you know, that wide application. It increases staying power, and it can target things like Seismitoad, which is also kind of that, you know, loose check there. But Import is also oftentimes finding itself in that kind of bulky offense capacity, and being able to tank hits from like the Whimsicott, even like fire back on a Delphox, I think would be really useful. And oh wow, that does a ton. Alright, so and that Embor absorbs that hit better than I would expect. I guess now would be the time that he shows Defog if he has it, but no, okay, the fact that he switched out, I feel almost assuredly puts down the fact that this is going to be a Scarf Rotom, so it is maybe that Scarf Defog set that I was touching upon earlier in this narration, which is kind of weird, obviously, and the fact that he had to, you know, just pocket it as fodder rather than get much out of it is tough. Furthermore, this having Glare, I think, almost completely nullifies any possibility of it having Sucker Punch. So what I think might end up being the end game here is Zuku cleaning this up with a Scarf Shadow Ball. I mean, if that's in fact what he is, because if that's the option he's got, he can very easily just commit here, you know, superpower into the Dredagon, and then just Shadow Ball 3 times. But oh no, huh? That's really interesting. I'm not sure exactly what he was predicting here. I think that the fact that he made that play seems to indicate that this is a non-Scarf Rotom, which is not too bad, but eternally doubling there, I'm not sure what he was looking to cover, because either he would superpower and, you know, whatever, he's at the same point he was. Oh, wow. I'm impressed by the fact that Rotom 8. Okay, sure. So, maybe I am wrong about something. This is... You know what? I think that... Yeah, okay, so that was... Alright, I guess Zook was... I'm gonna call him Zook for short. Was trying to 100 proof him against the possibility that that was in fact just like a weirdly scarfed Dazzling Gleam Delphox, which kind of out and away, but it's a possibility. And going to that Rotom there, though I think that he was at equal liberty to just throw out his Whimsicott into the Dredagon there, fodder it off, you know, really assure his in-game in the same fashion, though I'm maybe forgetting some kind of possibility here. I couldn't say. I think that it was a good game, though. I think there's a... Really need to vary out that word choice there. Really doing very little to exert my lexicon, though that's fine. I think this was a cool game. Hopefully I was able to put across some of the things that I meant to. Again, credit to Eternally for pulling that, you know, inside the headspace of someone with meta knowledge bluff. I really love those kind of things. Credit to Zook for the cool Drudagon tech. Really liked that. Also the AV draw. These are the kind of NU games that I like, or rather the games that I like to see. There's kind of like, you know, really forward-thinking building aspects that come into play. It's just really cool to see shit like that. So I'm glad that I got to talk about this one. So anyway, that'll do it for now, guys. I'll catch you later. By the way, fuck.